Next year will be our year, a phrase every devout Ferrari fan will know too well. The most iconic name in Formula 1, 16 Constructors' Championships, 15 Drivers' titles, and yet Ferrari is experiencing a championship drought that has lasted nearly 20 years. But with Lewis Hamilton joining the Scuderia in 2025, and a very strong finish to the 2024 season, hopes were high that Ferrari could once again return to former glory. However, Ferrari have taken yet another step back this season. Hamilton has struggled adjusting to the Italian outfit, and the team has not come near winning a Grand Prix at any point in this season. Why is it that Ferrari, with all their resources, tradition and top drivers, have been unable to win another championship since 2007? The reality is that Ferrari's recent frustrations can be traced back throughout the last 2 decades. Between 1999 and 2004, Ferrari under Jean Todt, Ross Brawn, Michael Schumacher and key technical talent like Rory Byrne were arguably the benchmark in F1. They won 6 consecutive Constructors' Championships and multiple Drivers' titles, with Schumacher's run of 5 in a row culminating in perhaps one of the most dominant machines ever with the Ferrari F2004. Ferrari last won the Drivers' Championship with Kimi Räikkönen and came agonisingly close to the 2008 Drivers' Championship with Felipe Massa. But since then, a lot has changed at Ferrari. They've had multiple runners-up finishes in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, and despite trying to return to former glory with the likes of Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel at the wheel, the team has consistently fell short. Since 2007, Ferrari's Formula 1 journey has been overshadowed by constant leadership changes and political infighting. After Jean Todt's departure, Stefano Domenicali took over in 2008, leading the team to remain competitive, but unable to capture consistent championships, leaving after a tough 2014 start. This would mark the start of a very chaotic leadership journey for Ferrari. Marco Mattiacci then stepped in as team principal, but his reign as leader of the team was very short-lived, lasting only 8 months, before he was then replaced by Maurizio Arrivabene. Arrivabene's appointment coincided with Sergio Marchionne taking over the role as Ferrari chairman. Marchionne had taken over from longtime chairman Luca de Montezemolo, and he intended to dramatically overhaul the workings of the Scuderia. This would mark the beginning of a directionless time for Ferrari, as the outfit would become unrecognisable to the dominant force it was in the early 2000s. The Arrivabene era can be defined by his more aggressive management style, and the team was prosperous for a time, but were never able to topple Mercedes throughout their dominant period of the sport. Arrivabene's time at Ferrari ended in early 2019, after growing tensions with senior management and a lack of championship success. Despite bringing the team closer to Mercedes than they had been in years, internal clashes and missed opportunities saw him replaced by Mattia Binotto, marking yet another shift in leadership. Unlike his predecessors, Binotto took over as team principal after rising through Ferrari's technical ranks. He ushered in the team's new rising star at the time, Charles Leclerc, and oversaw the introduction of the 2022 ground effect regulations change. Between 2019 and 2021, Mattia Binotto's early leadership was a turbulent period for Ferrari once again. While 2019 showed promise with race wins and Charles Leclerc's breakout performances, the following years were defined by decline. The 2020 season in particular was disastrous, with Ferrari falling to the midfield, plagued by a weak power unit and a car that lacked competitiveness. To his credit, Binotto worked to restructure the team and lay foundations for the future, but Ferrari's struggles during this time underscored just how far they had fallen from championship contention. Then came 2022 and the previously mentioned introduction of the ground effect era regulations, and at the start of the season, things couldn't have looked more optimistic for Ferrari. Leclerc, alongside teammate Carlos Sainz, started the year incredibly strong for Ferrari, following a memorable 1-2 finish at the season opener in Bahrain. They once again had a race-winning car and a young, reinvigorated and passionate driver lineup that was committed to Ferrari and determined to win a championship that year. However, things began to crumble for Leclerc and Ferrari's championship hopes after the season became marred with strategic blunders, including the now infamous Monaco Grand Prix pit disaster which cost Leclerc the win. Coupled with a host of reliability issues and lack of pace in the second half of the season, Ferrari succumbed to their pitfalls, which we have come to know so well. Despite an encouraging start to the season, Binotto resigned at the end of 2022 after losing confidence from top management. Enter current team principal Fred Vasseur. At this point, another team boss rotation was viewed as more chaos at Ferrari. There's been no clear path for the team to build stability and a structure that would get them back to the top step. Since taking over in 23, Vasseur has focused on bringing that stability back and accountability to Ferrari after years of turbulence. His pragmatic, no-nonsense approach has aimed to cut through the politics that often drag the team down, while also fostering a calmer environment for engineers and drivers. Though Ferrari has shown flashes of improvement, most notably in strategy and race execution under his watch, consistency and car performance remain major hurdles for the team. Still, Vasseur's tenure so far suggests a longer-term rebuild, with hopes that his steady leadership can finally break the cycle of short-lived regimes. Vasseur also boasted a strong relationship with Charles Leclerc, who drove for Fred's former outfit Alfa Romeo, who was also a key player in the signing of Lewis Hamilton. Towards the end of 2024, things looked increasingly positive for Ferrari. Though they missed out on the Constructors' title to McLaren, the team had racked up 5 impressive wins. So understandably, it felt like Ferrari had all the right ingredients for a proper championship bid in 2025. But the reality couldn't be further from those hopes. 2025 has been another disappointing season for Ferrari, and they've been consistently uncompetitive throughout race weekends. And once again, many have been left scratching their heads asking what has gone so wrong. Ferrari have had an uphill battle since before the start of the season, especially with all the hype around the team since signing Lewis Hamilton. Results from the season opener in Australia were disappointing to say the least, with an 8th and 10th place finish for Charles and Lewis respectively. Things then looked more encouraging when Hamilton managed to win the sprint race in China, but couldn't replicate the results in the Grand Prix, which ultimately ended in a humiliating double disqualification for both cars. From then on, it's been a disappointing season for both Ferrari and Hamilton, who has been extremely self-critical of his performance, at one point going as far to say he is, quote, just slow, and suggesting another driver would perform better than he is right now. Vasseur has also admitted that Ferrari underestimated just how much Hamilton's move would require adaptation. Not just for him, but the entire organisation. But beyond driver lineup, there are clearly deeper rooted issues at the team. While Leclerc has undoubtedly been the better driver of the two over the course of the season, it's still very clear that he is also struggling with this year's car. The core issue is flaws in the SF25's design concept. The car is overly reliant on low ride height for aerodynamic performance, and has led to persistent issues with handling, particularly in low-speed corners, understeer and traction. Hamilton's disqualification for a worn plank in China highlighted the problem, forcing the team to raise the car's ride height, sacrificing performance, and leaving them unable to find a consistent competitive setup window. This has resulted in erratic performance, inconsistency, and a season that has fallen short of the team's expectations. Vasseur has recently become uncharacteristically defensive at points this year, hitting out some of the media coverage about Ferrari. At the Canadian Grand Prix, he was quick to slam rumours that suggested he may be replaced as team principal, and jumped to the defence of technical director Loic Serra, who came under scrutiny for the team's flawed design direction. He's regularly defended his drivers too, who have also both given firm backing to Vasseur and his vision with the Scuderia. Outside of just 2025, Ferrari is still battling systemic challenges that have plagued the team for years. The technical group has produced fast cars in years gone by, but sustaining development across an entire season remains elusive. Reliability has let the team down at critical moments, and the team's race day strategy was at one point considered laughable. To Vasseur's credit, a lot of progress has been made on those issues, and the race team does look like a more focused and incisive outfit. Cultural pressures compound the technical equation. Ferrari operates under the constant gaze of Italian media and a passionate global fan base. Expectations are immense. Tolerance for incremental progress has been pretty limited over the years, something that Vasseur acknowledged before taking the job. This environment can encourage abrupt overreaction rather than methodical evolution. Another huge challenge for Ferrari outside of the turbulence from upper management in the organisation is the fact that they are based out of Maranello in Italy. This can also make attracting top talent to the team more difficult. The most obvious example of this is of course Adrian Newey, who turned the team down not once, but twice. By contrast, Red Bull, Mercedes and now McLaren have cultivated flatter hierarchies and long-term planning cycles, insulating engineering programs from political turbulence. At McLaren most notably, CEO Zak Brown has managed to shield the Formula 1 team from pressures coming from the wider McLaren group, allowing team principal Andrea Stella and his technical team to get on with the job at hand. And despite some recent chaos at Red Bull following Christian Horner's departure, his replacement Laurent Mekies is making good progress with the team while staying out of the wider politics, and remains focused on giving the reigning world champion Max Verstappen a race-winning car. Vasseur and Binotto both did a lot of work to eliminate the blame culture which infected Ferrari for many years, and despite the struggles of this year, Vasseur has signed a multi-year contract with the team. This definitely feels like the right move for Ferrari. If there is anything the organisation needs right now, it's stability, especially on the cusp of one of the biggest regulation changes coming to the sport. While this year is probably Vasseur's most challenging yet, the team still has many positives on its side. Up until the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Ferrari was holding on to second place in the Constructors' title, and they are definitely in a position to reclaim that by the end of the season. They also arguably have the strongest driver lineup on the grid. Despite their struggles, Leclerc and Hamilton have both consistently scored points throughout the season. The same cannot be said for many of the other teams outside of McLaren. Despite the difficulties experienced by Leclerc and Hamilton, there is still an overwhelming consensus that if Ferrari can produce the right car, the results will follow. Vasseur has proved that he can make improvements to race day operations and cultivate a technical department that can deliver a race-winning car. The stability provided by Vasseur should help Ferrari to think about evolving over time and facilitate a culture focused on building progress. There is still the lingering question on the direction of Lewis Hamilton's performance, but recently there has been more signs that he is feeling more comfortable in the car and he has been closing the gap to teammate Charles Leclerc. The 2026 regulations change has the potential to completely shake up the grid order, and it's crucial that Ferrari maintains their current level of stability throughout the course of the regulation cycle. The team has clear leadership once again, but the next 2 years will be critical. Ferrari cannot afford another false dawn. The combination of Leclerc's raw speed and Hamilton's experience and Vasseur's steady hand offers perhaps the best chance in decades to finally reclaim the ultimate prize. But to succeed, Ferrari must break free from the cycles of instability in politics that have haunted them since 2007. For fans, the hope remains the same as ever. Maybe next year really will be their year.